Hi. I had a large piece of obsidian and I wanted to do something really cool with it. So I thought I would make like an obelisk kind of trophy kind of looking thing with it. Spoiler alert, it didn't go so well, and what you see is the result. I really only put this video together to educate people a little bit on where I found this stone and maybe what you could do to make it better than what we have here, because this isn't good enough, but I'm going to make the video anyway. But that's it. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for coming along. I think I'd like to do something about this stone. It's obsidian. I've had it for a few years. It weighs about 6 pounds according to the scale, and it comes from Davis Creek. Turns out many varieties of obsidian can be found at Davis Creek. Grays, the needle stuff, which is more like mahogany. Banded, maybe this guy, I don't know. Davis Creek is kind of a sore subject because it's been ruined by a couple people that didn't care about the forest or the environment. And subsequently, from what I understand, the last time I drove through, Davis Creek was closed. And now the Forest Service of Modoc County actually controls access to all of Davis Creek, which the mines, the General National Forest, and whatnot. So unfortunately, like if you just drive up to Davis Creek, you're going to find out that the road is blocked off about a mile from the highway. And it's either gated or it's clearly marked, no trespassing. You need a permit. And so the deal is on this stuff, if you want to go up there and collect, you can do so, but today is June the 8th. I'm only writing this because they're about to open Davis Creek up to people who have permits. You have to obtain permits from the Forest Service, which is in Alturas office. They do not like emails, so you won't get anything back if you email them. And they sometimes answer the phone, but you need to show up in person to obtain a permit. So don't just go up there willy-nilly thinking that you're going to have a great time collecting, because you are not unless you have a permit. And I don't know what the penalties are for that, but anyway, hopefully that information helps out somebody. So this guy is not really gem quality, and he's not special. It's just a regular obsidian, but it's a large piece, and I'd like to do something with it, like maybe, cut it here, and then maybe get some geometric shapes going on here, and then maybe, I don't know, angle it up and like an obelisk or some kind of a trophy or something, maybe. I don't know. But we're going to introduce this rock. I've been sitting on this rock for years, but it's not really gem quality. You can see, if you look, it's got air bubbles in it. So you're not going to make any jewelry out of this. But we're going to introduce it to the rock saw here, and we're going to run it through a few times and see what we get. I've got some pretty much everything, for example, but I've turned a lot of it into jewelry. There's really 3 big mine sites up there, but today we're just going to talk about the one guy. Oh yeah, I'm not sure if I mentioned or not, but the permits are only good between the months of July and August. So it runs from July 1, or like the 4th of July almost, right up until Labor Day, which is usually like September 1st. So just to let you know, it's 2-month permit. So we're going to start with a base cut on what I think is probably the bottom. One thing mentioning before we start is you might want to have a good mask, because glass, obsidian is glass, and you know, it's never a bad idea to have a set of glasses. Looks good. So our next cut is going to be a long one, I guess. We're going to try to shave off a piece. Yeah, we're ready for our next cut. I think my biggest problem is I'm kind of reluctant to cut off too much material because I want the result to be big. But it's probably going to be a lot more cuts. This one's kind of parallel to one I just made, almost. You can definitely see the grain in this one. Getting there. The flow banding is interesting. I like it. It'd be better when I polish it up. But you can see the banding is really kind of crazy on this because of the cut. But yeah, we're gonna get that cleaned up, get this cleaned up, and that. Clearly, I've already taken off literally half of the material, which is pretty typical when you cut something and you want something out of it. That's so let's see what we have here. This this is what's left of our guy here. And you know, He probably weighs 3 pounds, maybe 3 pounds tops. I chopped off clearly 2.5 to 3 pounds. So this is tops 3 pounds. I'm going to take off this on a grinder. I'm going to take these edges down on a grinder, clean up a couple of these edges. And obviously this is stage 1, you know. I don't know if I should run this edge one more time or not. I don't think I will. You know, that's kind of the back edge. This is kind of the front edge. I'm just going to say that it's not unusual obsidian. It's just flow banded. And if you're interested in finding flow banded obsidian and you don't really want to deal with Davis Creek because it's kind of a pain in the ass thanks to the Forest Service and some idiots that ruined the site, just look up Glass Buttes, Oregon. I think it's like on I-70. I'm not a Oregon native or anything, but I think it was off of I-70. Glass Buttes will have everything that you see here and more. Giant chunks, boulders, if you want to look for them, but really, really good mahogany obsidian and very good banded. So the grinder, I was introducing some digs dug right into a couple deep grooves just by being a little careless with the grinder. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spend a couple hours and starting with like a 200 grit, use the little Beaver guy to go through some of the grits and step through and sort of take it down closer to 6,000. Yeah, one of the biggest things you face when trying to resurface something with many angles and stuff is at any time, any edge can dig in and leave a mark, but yet on your next time over, you won't get it. You won't see it. It's covered with water. So like this. And it's kind of discouraging to go through. And then when you're done, come back and see all these scratch marks, which you've left yourself. Right now I'm on speed number 2 with an 800. We're gonna clean that up. So, like just that one little piece. In order to check it, I got to get a dry towel, which is kind of a key, having a bunch of dry towels around. And you can see, I even did it unevenly. Do you see that? So, it's difficult. I need to take this down more. So I got to go back, and then this corner, got to go back and do it again. And this kind of exemplifies what you go through. And so what you think might only take an hour could take all day. One of the things I have a problem with on this Beaver thing, and it's kind of emblematic of this design, and that is polishes the outsides of sections better than the insides. And so what you're kind of forced to do is go in with an edge, or at least half of it. And what that does is it kind of digs in places and leaves obvious swirls. And this is kind of the most, you can also see the pits starting to show up. Remember I talked about the air bubbles? That's them. I'll try to wash those out. But I think this is going to be far from perfect. I'm already at 3,000, but it doesn't look like it at all. I'm going to take it to 6,000, and then I'm probably going to put it on the wheel and use some cerium oxide. But this is one of the things I'm not crazy about with Beaver or these types of things in general. They're great for single surfaces like bookshelves and stuff like that. But anytime you're going over like a rock like this, it just becomes complicated. So I think I'm going to stop it here. And the reason is because my wheel is not set up properly for something this size. It just handles small stuff. And it's becoming increasingly obvious that I need a flat lap to do this correctly. I really don't want to publish this result because it doesn't meet my expectations. Yeah, I mean, there's mistakes. I even left this the way it was, and large surfaces on grinding wheels, you can only do so much, and a flat lap is going to do a better job, and I don't have one. I probably have access to one at the club. I just don't have the time right now. So I wanted to get this video out before Davis Creek shut down this year. And I was kind of against the clock on this because I've got many other projects that are not, lapidary or gem related. I think it's an improvement over what I had. You can see the bubbles that I was originally talking to. They all came out, all the bubbles, imperfections. You couldn't see it when we had the oil on it during the cutting process, but they were all there. And you can see where I struggled to maintain consistency and continuity. And unfortunately, this is what those wheels bring. On the Beaver and on my grinder, they just bring a lot of non-consistency to the table, and you get a lot of areas that are finished and others that are not. Next thing you go over it again, In summary, this is my crappy result. And yeah, I'm just going to post it the way it is. So that's it for this one. I think I wanted to make a video mostly describing that if you want to go up to Davis Creek, you should think about doing that now. It's 2 weeks before July 1st when they open up. And otherwise, you're probably, if you don't do it within the next 2 months, you will have to wait till next year. They're pretty strict about it. Again, Modoc County, Altura's office, they issue licenses. You have to be there in person for you to do it. Hopefully, you learned a couple things about this. Maybe, what we could have done better. We knew going in that this was going to be pitted with air bubbles, and I just didn't have a suspicion that it was going to be this bad when it came to polishing it. And we learned that having a flat lap is a really great thing. So I need to maybe abridge this video at a later date, maybe possibly add some more content at the end when this is really polished the way I like. But until then, I think it was fun. I always have fun whenever I do something with rocks, whether it's finding rocks or making something out of them. And it's been sitting around for a few years, and so I'm kind of glad that I made something out of this. I'm pretty happy about that. Thanks for coming along. In the meantime, maybe you picked up a thing or two. And until the next one, thank you.